Michelle from Michelle's Romantic Tangle, and in this video I'm going to show you how to use your Accuquilt Go Cutter and Isoscoles Triangle die to make this traditional two-color quilt. One of my favorite things about my Go Cutter is how quickly I can use it to cut thrifted cotton sheets into pieces for a two-color quilt. To start with, I make sure that I remove all of the hems from my sheets. This ensures that I know exactly how many layers I have going through my Go Cutter at any one time. You'll find that the sheets tear extremely quickly, and if I'm along my grain line, they also tear very accurately. Sometimes your sheets are not on the grain line, and you can have about a 3-inch angle of difference between your grain line and the edge of your sheet. Don't worry about it. You want to be on the grain line, not what the sheet manufacturer decided was the grain line. To determine the width to tear my sheets, I have made lines about a 1/4 inch on either side of my Go Cutter blades. I lay my fabric out, eyeball the lines, give myself about an extra inch to compensate from any bruising that the tearing caused. With the amount of fabric in these sheets, I am not worried about a little waste from over measuring on those lines. Now that I'm done tearing my strips, it's time to get started cutting the pieces. The first step is to take each long strip and fold it in half so that the raw edges come together. Smooth it out so that you don't have any twists in your fabric. I have marked on my Go Cutter die a line about a 1/4 inch from the furthest corner of the triangle. I put the raw edge of my fabric a little bit past that because, again, I've got so much fabric in these sheets that I'm not worried about a little fabric waste. I use 1 double layer of my white sheet and 1 double layer of my contrast sheet. This will give me 4 layers of fabric going through my cutter, which is enough pieces for 1 block for each pass through the Go Cutter. I place my cutting mat on top of the fabric and die and crank it through the cutter. Once I have fed it through the cutter, I carefully pull it out, pulling the rest of my sheet strips through the die, through the thing. I peel back my cutting mat and peel off my triangles. Again, this is enough pieces for 1 block, and I find that by keeping them stacked individually, I can see at a glance how many blocks I already have cut and how many more I need to go. Now I take my scissors and I trim off this excess bit of fabric, because I find if I try to run it through the cutter again with this fabric, it will get in the way. I now have a slanted edge to my fabric. I move it forward so that it's a little bit farther than the slanted edge of the blade on the die. Smooth everything out again to make sure that I have no wrinkles. Put the cutting mat back on and crank it through the cutter again. Now that I have my pieces cut, I'm ready to start assembling my blocks. In addition to my white and contrast color isosceles triangles, I also have 3 7/8 inch half square triangles, which you can cut using the 3-inch finished half square triangle block die from Accuquilt. The secret to making these blocks fit together nicely is consistency. I layer my light triangle onto my dark triangle and sew down the right-hand side of the shape. Once I have my triangles sewn into pairs, I will sew 2 pairs together, matching my dark triangle and my light triangle, to form a half of the block. Then I will sew my 2 block halves together to form the complete block. I usually do pin at the center intersection to make sure that my center points meet. I tend not to pin unless I have to, but I find that this pin is worth it. Now that I have the center of my block complete, I will take one of my 3 7/8 inch half square triangles and sew it to each corner to form the completed block. And there you have it.